Kill the coverage and then watch how quickly they forget the same issues people said that we cannot neglect.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Sexual Intellectual Podcast, and this is a very special edition where I have a guest with me today. And so this is Danielle, who I've technically known for mad years, but we never even met. And so now we have met and we are here to pod. Okay? And so Danielle is a therapist, and her focus is on helping people set up boundaries of different kinds. And so we're going to get into some of that, and especially how it applies to relationships. So let's start there. How important are boundaries in relationships?
Extremely important. So when I work with couples and we're talking about some of like their dynamics, a lot of times I notice that they haven't created the boundaries, right? So let's say if there's conflict, right? And how do we want to argue? No yelling, no cursing, no name calling. And so when we're not, and it can seem like a very kind of like meticulous thing to do, or it's like that's not realistic. But in reality, it's very necessary, right? Because you won't let someone on the street curse you out, call you a name, just because you have a boundary.
Exactly.
And so it's the same thing that applies to the relationships that you have with your partner. So they're really, really, really important.
Okay. I agree. I think one of the problems is people don't have enough boundaries, period. And so once you become a couple or start dating someone, you have these things that are becoming issues because you don't really have the structure in place to really go to this kind of level or situation. Let's see. So with boundaries, let me ask this. Do you think you need one set of boundaries for personal life and another set of boundaries for relationship, or you think they kind of intertwine?
Your boundaries are about they're not like for a particular person. They can shift perhaps, but your boundaries are your boundaries. So how I want to exist in any relationship. So if I have a professional relationship where I go to work, if I have a relationship with my family, if I have a relationship with a romantic partner, if I have my relationship with my kids, my boundaries are my boundaries. And the way in which you uphold them may shift according to who the person is, but they are the same no matter who you're in the relationship with.
Okay. So you don't compromise but so much.
No, you're
okay.
So like let's say time is what, like, you're a stickler for time. When I come to work, I like to be on time. When I get projects, I'd like them to be delivered in a timely manner. So when you know someone is giving you things last minute, it's kind of like what happens when you have to manage up, right? Like, if you want me to execute this in a timely manner, here's what I need, right? I want to perform in this particular way, but without enough time, let's be realistic, I can't perform. So what allows me to perform my best is giving some kind of like timely notice of what you need me to do. My kids, you got to go to school. There's some level of perhaps some independence that they have, but at the same time, you set them up for success. Hey, listen, we got to be here. We can't be late. And so here's what you need to do. Here are the responsibilities, and here's the time for, like, you teach your kids those things. Like, we have to move. There's some things we can like take our time, but also because they're relying on us in a sense for some time because they can't tell time, then we right, like, we have to do the thing to set them up for success so they understand and can honor your boundary of time, if that makes sense.
Okay. But what if let me do it like this. Let's say from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I never talk on the phone. But I got a new boo. Should I compromise my boundary for my new boo? Or is it still, from 6 to 8, I don't talk to nobody?
If that is
That's
your
my
me
me
time,
time.
you may not want to compromise.
Mhm.
And I think you have to, and you get to decide though who gets the flexibility. You get to decide like,
Okay, I like that.
okay, I can still say this like 6 to 8. Here's the things that I'm doing because, right, like if this is your workout time, this is part of you and taking care of yourself and keeping your health, right? The way you treat yourself and you honor the things that are priority, your values, when we kind of
Hmm.
go back on them or we create space for them to be broken, then a person doesn't know to honor them. And so if it's like, well, we've been talking from 7:30, now all of a sudden it
Right.
and yes, they should honor it, but you also have to remember you created a habit and people get used to those things and they
Yes.
expect those things.
An
And so
expectation.
if it's something that you really want to honor,
Yes.
you on your own get to decide like, you know what, I don't need to work out for 2 hours. So, but I can be clear like this time to this time, this is what I'm doing. And so I'll call you at this time.
Okay, I think that. All right. Uh, speaking of boundaries, I was curious. There's this thing all over the internet. Uh, some people call it 20 versus 1. Some people call it Pop the
Pop the
Balloon. Do you
balloon,
know this
yes.
show? Okay. What you think about that show? Because I asked because it's super popular and it's like the new dating
It's
thing, but I think
ridiculous.
it's so
It's
crazy.
ridiculous. I
Like,
haven't watched it in like its entirety, but I think it's ridiculous. I, yeah,
me either. Only
and
clips.
I think we have enough shows, enough platforms that kind of pit men and women
Mhm.
against each other, that it's just another platform that kind of sets this tone for men to critique women in a very negative way and women to critique or just be judgmental. I don't even know if it's like critique, but judgmental in a way to just
Mhm.
impose nonsensical sometimes beliefs onto other people. And then
Right.
it's like in the world. It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy too. I think also a lot of the people I've seen in the clips, they show up with these
Mm,
wild expectations. And I think it's interesting. I don't know about you. I believe it's good when you know
mm,
expectations beforehand, right? So if I say, hey, Danielle, now that we're dating, I expect you to call me every day at 8 p.m. I feel like you got to know that before we start dating. Like now that we're dating,
mm,
example, obviously, but now that we're dating and I'm like, yo, what's up, man? You ain't been
mm,
calling me at 8
mm.
o'clock. What's up? You like, nigga, I never knew you wanted me to call you at 8 o'clock.
Right.
You should have been said that. I think a lot of people have like these crazy expectations, which is,
Mm,
you expect what you expect, but I think communicating in the beginning is important. And I think a lot of people don't do that. And that show makes me think about that because people show up with these like, oh, pop the balloon. Why'd you pop it? Nah, because I
mhm,
expect my man to do X, Y, Z. And it's like, oh, all right. I mean, that's cool. But I hope you're expressing it to people the same way you're expressing it on
mhm,
Pop the Balloon or
I was gonna say the
whatever it's
same
called.
thing. Like, we
Yeah.
don't need a show though to say
Oh, I
like
agree.
this is your expectation. I think just people have. I think nowadays dating is kind of like this weird. It's like it's help dating because you do have promotion of like healthy dating and healthy boundaries, and I think things that can make relationships really healthy, and then that's the same time like some very unrealistic, toxic kind of expectations for a relationship. So it just,
Yeah.
I think it speaks to wherever people are and people take to whatever they feel like the space that they're just in. Um, but,
I think it also shows you a lot of
mm,
their history. Like if you're used to being called every day when you walk out of work, right? If at
mhm,
5:01 p.m. your
mhm,
last boo called you every day, when that next person comes, you're like, yo, but what's up? At
right,
5:01 when I get out of work, you'll never call me. I'm used to being
mhm.
called at 5:01. You got to step it up, Danielle. And it's like I didn't even know that was something you wanted. Like, you gotta. I have no idea what.
People don't
When
have
were
good
you going to tell me
communication
that?
skills. Like they really,
I agree.
really suck at that. And people think like good communication skills are just saying how you feel, but it's also being able to articulate like really well, being able to like understand how other people communicate, and then being able to say, okay, this is how, like active listening, not being able to take things personal. Like that's just missing.
You'll say that again. Not
The four
taking things
agreements.
personal.
Get
Yes.
the book.
Get the book. Okay, I hear that. So, let's talk a little bit about communication. So, yeah, I agree. Communication is important. How do we understand how someone else communicates? Is that something I could learn? Right? Like, if I'm only used to dealing with one style of communication, if all I'm all right, let's go super toxic. If all I'm used to is people just yelling and cursing, and now I've met someone that doesn't yell or curse, what I do here? How do I understand their communication? Can I learn that, or is it just hey, you
No, you
used to
can
toxic
absolutely
and
learn
that's
it.
it?
However, it requires that other person to have their boundaries and to and and it's also about, so I think it's multifaceted, right? It's not just this black or white, this one thing. I think there's multiple factors that allow people to become better communicators. One, you have to have some type of self-awareness of recognizing how you communicate and how you're what you're used to and what you think
Mm-hmm.
is the best way to communicate. Having people who push you to push you for clarity, who actually also listen to you and can then challenge you, but you have to be willing to be challenged and not feel like questioning means someone's trying to undermine you, but simply trying, they're curious, right? Like they want to know, they're trying to understand you better. The person you're dating or whoever you have a relationship with, it also requires them to be really clear and saying like, I get that you're upset, but cursing at me does nothing for this conversation. It's not going to move me to have better understanding. It's not going to move me to want to communicate. So when you curse at me, I'm going to walk away from this conversation because that's not, I won't tolerate someone speaking to me in that way. But it like, right, like, so that would be my boundary, right? Like, you can be upset. I can accept you being angry. I can upset you however you're feeling. However, it's what you do with those feelings and how you then communicate to me about
Yes.
said thing that I'm going to say either this is acceptable for me and I'm going to have the conversation with you, or we're going to have to come back when you're calm.
Okay, I dig that. Do you find
Hmm.
in your line of work that most people are self-aware?
It's been a range. It is a
Okay.
range, and what it requires is for me to do active listening, right? To say like, so this is what I hear you saying, right? You're like, you want this one thing, but you're saying this. And it doesn't even have to be a conflict, but it's also about understanding how your feelings impact your behavior and how you communicate, right? So like when you're upset, what typically happens? And so making a person aware of like their patterns. I've had some couples who are aware and they can recognize and they're willing,
Mm-hmm.
because they really genuinely are ready to receive the push for growth, then they're able to be better about their
Mm-hmm.
communication with each other and within like
Yep.
our working relationship. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Um, that was a lot of good stuff. um, all right. So let's say someone is
Hmm.
not self-aware, right? And they now have a new partner, and their partner sees that they're not self-aware. What's the better route to take? Trying to tell this person, hey, you ain't really being self-aware. You've stepped on my foot 7 times today. I would prefer if you stop stepping on my toe. You need
Hmm.
to pay attention where you're walking. Or seeking a professional like you to help them build a framework to learn
I would say it
self-awareness.
depends where that other partner is, right? So say if you and I are in a relationship and you have that, you're used to like that toxic kind of communication, but I am more in this space of awareness. One, I have to always pay attention to that from the beginning. If it is a desire of mine to be with someone who can communicate well, right? I pay attention to how you respond challenges, how you respond to like when you're excited. Like I pay attention to just how you express your feelings. I pay attention to all of that, right? And so when it comes to conflict specifically, part of, because I'm aware, one, I can recognize like everyone doesn't process like me. Some people are internal, some people
Right.
process internally. So they process first within themselves and then communicate. So it can come a day or two later. And
Right.
some people process very outwardly. So they have to say it out loud until they get to the thing. And some people just like say shit and
Right.
they don't think about it, right? my
Right.
so my job
Very
as a
much true.
person who like gets that, you do active listening, right? So you're like, okay, before I respond to it and not take it personally, let me make sure I can clarify what you're saying. Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. And so I'll say, you're saying blah 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 blah. Is that what you mean? And what it allows that person to do is to be like, oh shit, they took it that way. That's not what I'm saying. So now they're gonna correct themselves. And now we get to
Okay.
better communication because now we're like, it's like, oh, you were listening to me and I had an opportunity to really clarify and be clearer about what I'm saying, and there's no argument.
Okay. So you think it kind of varies on
Mm-hmm.
where the person is at
Mm-hmm.
in their
It's
own journey?
it's there's a bit
Okay.
of duality to it, right? Again, who you're in the relationship with and your own ability to recognize like how come people keep like y'all keep missing it. What's the problem? Like why y'all not understanding what I'm saying? And so it does require
Right.
some reflection, and also it's helpful, I'll say, when you have people in your life who are willing to be like, hey, I'm just to be clear, like, is this what you're saying? Is this what you mean? Because that's what it sounds like. When I hear this is what you. They're like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, oh, okay, so what is it? Right? And now they have an opportunity to go back and change the language or just communicate in a different way that allows them for them to feel understood.
Got you. But let me ask you, today in 2024,
Mm-hmm.
almost 2025, do you find that people are paying attention, self-aware, and active
Mm-hmm.
listening? You find that that's like a
I
normal thing?
Normal, such a tricky word. Um, I know.
I agree. More often than not?
I think so mental health has become such a unfortunate a trend. And I say unfortunate because
Yes.
it's
Because they be
sometimes,
full
right?
of shit.
But at the same time, it's real. Like our mental health matters. And so, you have some people who are like, yeah, I communicate and I know, and I know. And there's a difference between intellectualizing, where you understand mentally, right? Like you can make things make sense. And there's another thing versus like being able to then put what you can understand into play. And that's the real understanding, right? That's like where the real self-awareness, that mindfulness comes into play, is when I can.
Knowledge versus wisdom.
Right. So I think a lot of people have a lot of knowledge. They don't got a lot of wisdom.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's because knowledge, wisdom is
Mm-hmm.
applying the knowledge.
Yeah.
And so if you just
I
got
say
it,
it's just
you ain't doing
information.
nothing with it.
That saying there's like, if you know better, you do better. And
Right.
it's like, that's actually not true. Because if you haven't had opportunities to apply
Mhm.
it, then it's just information.
Well, that's why they say if you know better,
Oh, is
you
that what it is? Did I get it
should
wrong?
do better. Well, a lot of people don't say the should, but the original saying is if you
Yeah.
know better, you should do better. And in the hood, we don't say the should. We just say,
You do better.
Danielle, if you know
Hmm.
better, you do better. But it's really, you're right. It's really, you
Yeah.
should
But
do better.
even if you know, I mean, think about it. we have adults, we know right from wrong, and sometimes it's just that sometimes we choose to do the very opposite thing, and sometimes we just haven't had enough examples or opportunities to put certain things into play for us to see the manifestation of the thing that we know, right? So I still stick to like knowing isn't enough. We need to be able to apply. It's just like in school. A teacher can teach it, but without the opportunities to apply what they're teaching, also lets us know if you're a good teacher. Like right, like you may have a lot of information, but if my child or if I can't walk out of a class being able to explain it in a different way and someone can apply it or I can apply it, I just know a lot of shit. I haven't actually learned anything.
Okay, I dig that. I think that's a good point. I think a lot of adults are still children and haven't aged out of things. I worked
Mm-hmm.
with kids for 14 years, and I saw so many behaviors from children that I would later see in adults, like even just as you clock out and go
Mm-hmm.
grab a drink with your friends or whatever. I'm like, this nigga acts just like little Jimmy. But the difference is
She's
this nigga's not
35.
7. Like little Jimmy is doing shit right. I mean, I'm like, yo, what's up with this guy? You still 7? You ain't get past 7. There are a lot of numbers left, and so I think, yeah, unfortunately, unfortunately, age and maturity are not
Yeah.
synonymous, and so yeah, I think there are a lot of adults who make decisions that they know, like, yeah, every time you get angry,
Mm-mm.
you can't burn down a
Mm-mm.
building. No,
Mm-mm.
you can't do that. Sorry, but that don't mean people not going to burn down the building. So unfortunately, yes, I think there are a lot of adults with
Mm-hmm.
just being honest, like because tantrums are a thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so as a child, there's a lot of children who, all right, I'm angry,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta act out. And okay, if you 7, all right, I get it. You ain't got
Mm-hmm.
all the motor skills, you still working on some things, you still getting your framework together, your brain's not fully developed. And listen, I get it. We gonna
Mm-hmm.
work together to make it happen. But at 27, 37, 47, you still just
But let's
every
talk
time you
about
get
this
mad, it's like
real quick, because I think this could be a whole other
go ahead.
conversation. To that, when you're
Mm-hmm.
7, that's where you get the tools. That's where I was
Mm-hmm.
just having this conversation with my girlfriend. Like, based off of my relationship with my parents or not, teaches me about relationships,
Or not. Mm-hmm.
right? And we have many
Right.
other relationships in school. And so we're in school a lot of the hours. But when we come home, those are our primary relationships. And so how we're taught, how we're engaged with when we are home with our family, siblings, how family is being taught about the meaning of family, those things impact us later. And if we're taught, right, like
Yes.
your responsibility is to make sure that everyone's happy in the house, or look at this, you like because you behave this way, now our family's sad. Like you grow up with people pleasing tendencies, and or you
Mm-hmm.
grow up with, because my feelings were so ignored, now I know how to ignore everyone else's feelings. I know how to dismiss. That is what I do, right? And so a lot of our
Right.
how we move in relationships really also comes from how we were raised and what those relationships and how we're taught to relate and
Mm-hmm.
connect to people. And so sometimes, because adults, when we become adults, we haven't healed, even though I don't think there's this thing of healed, like being healed, but we haven't been able to like comfort and resolve and just work through those relationships that weren't healthy, and those aren't the true definitions of like a healthy relationship and dynamic. We tend to carry on habits and just what we were innately taught.
Right. I agree 100% with that. I guess my question and response is, at what point is it now your responsibility to find the tools to move out of that zone? So example, going back to
Mm-hmm.
me, shouting, going to level 10 every time I get angry. if I grew up in a house where this is the house of shouting, that's probably where I got it from, right? If every time something happens, everyone shouts, I probably shout all the time. Cool. But now, at what point in adulthood is it time to realize two things? One, shouting all the time is not helping me get anywhere in life. Two, I need to seek help. At what point in
In
adulthood do we
adulthood.
need to do that? In adulthood. All
In
right. So we're on
adulthood.
the same page.
Like
Yeah.
I don't give any passes.
Adulthood.
And when I work with clients, what I do is
Okay.
I acknowledge, right? That's the I will acknowledge because it's their experience. So who am I to say it doesn't matter, get over it, whatever? That's not my job. And so I acknowledge it. However, now you're in the space and to unlearn. And it can feel very uncomfortable. It probably will feel very uncomfortable to unlearn those things. But you can no longer, well, let me not say but, and you can no longer hold your parents, your caregivers, whoever raised you to your behaviors because those relationships are different and you're an adult and now you have more power. So it's about also like allowing and highlighting for people that they have more power in the kind of relationships that they engage in and who they choose to like the people you
Okay.
surrounded by. That's a choice you chose, right? Like when we're in
Yes.
school, we don't really have a choice unless our parents are really giving us that choice. Otherwise than that, we really don't have a choice in who is with us in school, who our teachers are. That's not really our choice. And so,
No.
but when you're an adult and you are out of your parents' care, you get to choose who you get to choose who your
You got some
friends are.
choices.
You do get to choose who your family is.
Right. Yeah, that's the term, right?
Yeah,
Chosen
you get
family.
to choose it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a challenge, though, and I agree with you. I think the challenge is this country does not teach us about
Mm,
accountability. This country teaches
mm,
us quite the opposite. You know, we had a president a couple years ago who he didn't believe in a lot of accountability. He said, "Nah, I don't. It wasn't my fault.
mhm,
It was Danielle's fault.
mm,
It was China's fault. It was the couch's fault.
mhm,
You already see what the couch did? How you gonna blame me? It was the couch." And so I think that's part of the American way. I think unfortunately, I think part of the teachings here is put the blame on the next person, right? And so I think whether we're talking dating or friendships, when you run into people who are not taught accountability, it's going to be challenging. And I don't think a lot of people in this country are fans
mhm.
of accountability. And no, it doesn't help that we have, a guy up there in the press conferences teaching you to, call it the Chinese flu. You know what I'm saying? But let's before we get into any of that stuff, let me ask you this. So, um, as far as boundaries, let's keep it boundaries,
Mhm,
but let's expand it a little bit. There is a rise in non-monogamous relationships in this country. Studies are showing that monogamous relationships
mhm.
are on the decline. What are your thoughts
That's
on
so
that?
funny because we were also talking about that. Um,
It's a big
we were
topic today.
and
It's a big topic.
what are my thoughts? I don't know what's being said. I haven't been really super privy. I'm not super privy to the studies. Um,
Oh well, a study. I think it was 2 months ago or 3 months ago. I read a study on this same podcast. It's just speaking about an increase in non-monogamous relationships of various kinds. And so the question I asked on that episode was, why do people think that is? And people are asking a lot, like, why is this
mm,
a hot topic? And it's a hot topic because this
mm,
is something that's increasing. So we don't really
mm,
have to speak to the study itself, but just what do you think about I mean, because it's a boundary, right? Like to open up your relationship in any form, right? Whether that's I'm in a relationship and I'm gonna just have a
mm,
completely open relationship, or I'm in a relationship, but we're gonna look into
mm,
being polyamorous, or I'm in a relationship, but I want to have 7 wives. All of those things are boundaries that are being changed, opened up, and then new things have to come in, right? Like I know a couple people who are polyamorous, for example, and some people have very loose quote unquote rules. Other people are like, nah, this is how it is. It's like this. Very specific things will and will not happen. That's the agreement before anything else even happens. Before anybody's introduced, it's like, we're going to sit down, we're going to get these rules popping. And once we agree on the rules, then we could go do our thing. So there's a lot of questions we could ask, but I'm just curious in general, what are your thoughts? Because it is a boundary changing
I don't know if I think
situation.
it's a boundary change. More
Okay.
than I think like, I mean, if I have to guess, I'd say there's this, I think one, for sure, dating has changed. Dating is very different. It's more heavily um, seduced by social media. There's a higher
Yep.
influence
Unfortunately.
from social media. And so when you are seeking to belong, you're seeking to kind of like find like, where do I fit in? What's my thing? And you go to social media, I think that is a huge play in why relationships are shifting, and even maybe per se to why like there's this whole conversation about polyamorous relationships and people are opening up. Um, I think, you know, my era of teenage years, middle school, high school, there was, the narrative of like ride or dies, right? And it's really more of women being ride or dies and not about men, right? Women, it was more about, right? Rap song,
Correct.
music was about women being ride or dies. And when I think about
Absolutely.
women now, and when I see in social media and even studies, there's more women who are okay with being single than being this ride or die, right? And so you have that, and then you may have some set of women, because I think less men, women are more, or have been more of the ones to want to settle down and want to have their person. Um, and so I think sometimes it could be a settling, or if there's a belief that, like, because of what dating is, this may be the best thing, this best option. And maybe, or I think maybe
Okay.
people just don't want to commit in that way. I don't.
Well, a polyamorous relationship is actually
hmm
many
But
commitments.
monogamy is a different. No,
So
monogamy is
I
a
don't know
different
about
type of
that.
commitment, though. Versus, right? That's what I'm saying, right?
Oh,
It's
I see what you're saying.
monogamy
I
and
see what you're
polyamorous is a
saying. Okay.
different type of commitment, and I think the idea of monogamy means that you don't have control.
Yes.
I think people see more men. I think see monogamous
Mhm.
relationships more of like less control of who they are. Um, and to me, I think that's about your choice of women, though. If you choose to be with the women
Mhm.
who, my daughter's father and I talked about this, and part of the problem is that, one, men enter relationships not being honest about who they are in that moment. I think men meet
Okay.
good women, women that they like, that they're interested in, they see potential, and they like that. And I think that's not just in romantic relationships. I think that's just in general. When we see people and we like how we feel around them, we want to keep them around. And sometimes we lie about who we are to keep people around, right? And so
But is that a
but that's why
men
I said
thing or a people thing?
friendships really not just romantic. I think that's a people thing.
Or-
But on the topic of relationships, that is more of a man thing than women. More, I think there are
Okay.
men who put on that they can perform in a way to a woman's liking,
Mhm.
and people get in relationships and then they stop performing. So I
Mhm.
think that's another part of the problem. And so to not have to perform sometimes it's like, I mean, I think men are like, hey, this is who I am. And some women may feel like, all right, I mean,
Mhm.
you, whatever, what's our agreement then? You know?
Mhm. I wish I had the study in front of me. I don't have it in front of me. I don't remember if it quoted the women and man part. It just spoke mostly about non-monogamous relationships being on
Mm,
the rise in this country. Um so what about the people who are
mm.
already in relationships and are opening it up, so to speak? What do you
I
think
mean, I
about
think
that?
each to his own. I'm not like, I would only hope that everyone is being genuine to what they like, really true to themselves and what they really want, in terms of opening up a
Mhm.
relationship. Because I think that's a big commitment to me personally, to
I
say
agree.
that I'm with you and I accept that you're with other people in whatever capacity that we agree to.
Oh, I agree. I've said before, I think polyamory is really challenging. I think for me personally, the way I am vulnerable and committed in a monogamous relationship, I don't know if I could do that and pour into, as they say, that same level into multiple people. I think that is really challenging. And some people like to compare that to being single and being ethical non-monogamous. But I think it's different because when you're single, you don't really have to do the same things. Your level of commitment, your level of vulnerability, your level of communication, all levels are way lower than when you're in a committed relationship. So I don't think it's the same, but I think the way personally I am in a committed relationship, I don't think I could do that with two, three, four, five people. And to be honest, in a polycule, uh, some are hierarchical, some are set up where it may not be a relationship, right? Like it could be you have your anchor partner, but then you have a sub, or you have your anchor partner and then you have a plaything. You have your anchor partner, you have a friends with benefits. So it may not be the same level of commitment, but I know what's spoken about more is not that setup I just said. It's like, oh, I'm in three relationships. And it's like, yeah, I don't know how I could
No.
be in three relationships. Like dating three people, okay, that's a conversation and cool, you do whatever you do. But I think, I don't know, personally, I couldn't
Mm-mm.
do those things, be that open, that vulnerable, that committed, give
Two,
that much
three different
attention
people.
to however many people. Yeah, I don't know. But there's people who do it. There's people, like I said, I know a couple people who are polyamorous. And so I mean, one person, like they have a very loose setup, you know what I mean? It's like we do whatever
Mm,
except this, and we just communicate. And the other group of people, they are
mm,
very specific. No,
mm,
we talk all the time. We have our rules. The new people got to understand the rules, or they can't be down. And so I think as long as it's open and honest, it's fine. But I think that you say the boundaries not changing. I thought maybe you would think that because it's kind of like setting up a new group of
mm,
boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Like if I have a wife of 10 years, we definitely have our boundaries
mm,
set up within our relationship. But if tomorrow morning my wife says, let's
mm.
let's open this up, and we got to set a whole new group of
Y-
boundaries. So that's why I
You
was
do.
asking.
I would just say that to me, it's less about like boundary based more than we're talking about people, people changing. And
Mhm.
there's this quote, and this is just a snippet of it, where it's like, to love a person is to attend 1,000 funerals. And when
Mhm.
people after 10 years have been together and someone is saying like, oh, I think I want something different, to me it's less about boundaries more
Mhm.
than it's about people change. People don't stay the same. People
Mhm.
go, you got to go through life experiences. You realize like, I feel like I'm missing something, and people want to explore. And so it's about, when you enter a committed relationship, also recognizing that like, your person is going to have, there's going to be many versions of that person you're going to encounter. And
I agree. That
and
was very well said.
that can be very hard, especially if
Yes.
you don't enter the relationship with the mindset that this person can change. And they might change if they get more money,
Yeah.
if they lose money, if they have a baby, if they lose a baby, if they lose a very close loved one. All of these experiences change us. And so so
Yep.
back but
I
to your
agree.
point of like switching from monogamous to polyamorous, to me it's not really a boundary thing. I think your boundaries will change, but it's less boundary based more than like people just change within relationships, and people either understand that and or they have their boundary and they're like, I just am still a monogamous person and polyamorous relationships just don't work for me, or I'm not interested in exploring it. Like, to me, that's like how the boundary comes into play for
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Yeah, I see a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different sides to the conversation. I understand monogamy is it's what we were all taught. We were all taught you have a husband and a wife, and that's it. Or today, where there's more of a not so much just husband and wife,
Mm-hmm.
but you have your person,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. And y'all, you commit, you compromise, you rock out until. I mean, it used to be until death do us part. Now it's until you get on my nerves and I'm out. But um,
Mm-hmm.
that was the belief, right? And so, and a lot of that stems from religion, which this is a
Yeah.
secular Christian nation. And so a lot of that ties to religion. And I think today, less people are religious, less people are sticking to that copy and paste conditioning we've been given. And I think, yeah, social
Mm-hmm.
media does play a part. You know, I think when you look and see, oh, this person is saying
Mm-hmm.
this person is saying that. And today, where the algorithm is more based on your interests or what the app
Mm-hmm.
believes to be your interests, you are seeing more of that. So if you feel like, oh, X-Men 97 is the best show ever, that's what I feel.
You click
And you
on
see
that,
one
and then you
video,
keep,
then
because you
you're going
keep
to keep
clicking on
seeing
it.
video
Yeah.
and video and video and
Mm-hmm.
video and video and video. Right. And so you like, yo, man, 900 niggas is saying this the best show ever. I told y'all. I've been told y'all this
Mm-hmm.
was the best show ever. I think, yeah, that does play a part. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But I also think it becomes a little more complex, right? Because I could also see where if you
Mm-hmm.
truly do love someone and they're saying, hey, I still love you, but we've been together since high school and we 40. I feel like there's some other things that I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
try, and you know, I just would like to try some different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to break up. I still love you deeply, and we have a great family, and I want to continue to raise our family. But is it cool if Wednesday nights
Mm-hmm.
I just disappear for a few hours? Think one, you should appreciate the fact that that person was honest instead of
Mm-hmm.
creeping on you, going and chasing waterfalls, if you will. And two, and two, I think this is a tough position to be
Yeah.
in on the other side because you don't want to break up. This person doesn't want to break up. You're saying, yeah, I'm cool with raising this family together still and all of these things. But, if you love a person, one of the things I think is truly trying to understand where they're coming from and seeing
Mm-hmm.
where can you bend but not break, right? So I also see that side where, hey, if you're gonna be honest, if we're gonna set up these rules before you go out on Wednesday
Mm-hmm.
night and go do your thing,
Mm-hmm.
then sure. Um, and so yeah, I just was curious about your
Yeah.
belief. We don't got to stay
No,
here
I
and
mean,
this don't have to all be a
and I agree.
yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it boils down to honesty. Like, if people switching to it, it's just
Oh yeah, I
honesty
agree.
first with yourself, and or if you like aren't sure, asking for more time to like think about it before you just say yes, because you're saying yes out of fear of losing, right? But just being like, I don't know what that looks like, and asking more questions and being curious about it, than to really decide if it's for you. If it's for people, it's for people. I mean, I ain't God, so it don't matter to me. I just think when people are doing it
Right.
because it's a trend is the thing that becomes like kind of
Mhm.
whack, because people are just doing it because a lot of people are doing it. Or what they think.
Or so they think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of mental gymnastics, what do you think about the political theater going on right now in this country with the election that's in just a
I
few
don't,
weeks?
I don't, I'm like not heavy into politics. It gives me a headache.
Okay.
So I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and like coming up, politics was not like
Mhm.
the thing we even like gave much attention to. Um, I voted before
Okay.
a couple of times, but just like that is an area that I'm like, it's
Okay. All
because
right.
it's to me it's so intense and there's so many layers and there's so much like fact finding and mind fucking and I don't know. I'll be like, who am I supposed to believe? Like? Seriously, there's like so
Right.
many things to consider, right? What happens, like policy, like what happens here? Do I care more what happens here versus what happens over there?
I absolutely love
Do,
that you started
like
with policy.
what determines this person to be a great president? Do I consider what they're saying about like how they're coming over here, but my integrity is about human preservation and human life and equity and justice, but over in Congo and we're doing all of this stuff where we're like, which do I choose? Like one president is caring more about one thing, but the
Right.
other, but I care about these kind of things. So how do I determine who I should vote for?
Those
So
are great questions.
I mean, it's
Those are great questions. And again, I love that you started with policy because in this country, people focus on
hmm
personality and not
yeah, and
policy.
I don't be knowing sometimes. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be honest, because I don't. I mean, I don't
No, that's
even
okay.
in
That's
like real
okay.
life. I don't even have a lot of time to watch TV. At least in my moment right now, like it does not come on. My kids don't now. He
Right.
does. My son doesn't watch even TV during the week time. And so if it comes on, they're watching
Mm,
cartoons or whatever. I'm not even like watching anything.
right. I got you. Well, no, you asked all the right questions, so I'm
I'm just
satisfied
like,
with that.
what?
Um, yeah. So real quick, there's a thing I hate that's also a trend, which is the word intentions.
Really?
I think intentions are overused and they're trash, and I'm gonna tell you why. A lot of times people will do foul shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm gonna keep it a buck up here. A lot of times people will do foul shit and then be like, no, but that wasn't my intention. My intention was to cook you a lovely breakfast. But I don't know. Somehow the whole building burned down. I don't know. I know you have
Yeah.
nowhere to live now, but I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to make my intention. My intention was to make you a
Mm-hmm.
lovely breakfast. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about what your intention was. You burned the whole building down. I got nowhere to live. Why are
Right.
we talking about your intention? And so a lot of people don't
Mm-hmm.
agree with me when I say this. They're like, no, but you have to consider what the person was trying to do. And I disagree. I think there's a difference between your intention and the
Mm-hmm.
shit that actually happened. And so, what are your thoughts on intentions, which everyone uses all the time? And I hate it.
I
But
say
what are
impact
your
over
thoughts?
intention.
Okay, we
So
talking now. Tell me more.
impact is what I intend to do. Does it breed the impact that I want it to have? And so I
Okay.
want to do something nice for you. I'm going to cook you pasta, but you love steak. Is it going to have the impact that I want it to have?
Right.
No. So my intention doesn't matter. So I need to think about the impact. I want to have a conversation with you about something that you did. And so do I just come out and be like, you did this wrong? Is it going to have the impact? Are you going to be able to? Now, I can't control what you walk away with. But if I consider at the very least, if I consider the
True.
impact, then it shifts how I consider my choice, my word choice. and what I choose to say to you, how I say it, and what I consider about who you are. So if I think about impact over intention, the likelihood of if I consider the impact, my intention might just naturally come through because I've done the work of looking at it. At the end of this conversation, what's going to happen or what could happen, and who do I know this person to be that I'm talking
Right.
to? Do they have a hard time taking feedback? So my intention is to be honest with you, but if this person is defensive, fuck with you. Like your intention don't matter. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Right? And
I
so
agree.
you may need to
Oh man,
when you think about the
yeah, go
impact,
ahead,
then your
sorry.
intention may have to shift of being honest versus I just want to have understanding. And if I have understanding, it may allow, because I'm coming from that place, then what I say to you, I can probably still be honest, but how I say it to you is going to be different.
Yes, I dig that. Yeah, I don't think
Mm-mm.
people consider the impact. Just like, I don't know how the building burned down, but I swear I was making you bacon, eggs, and French toast. And I'm like, I don't,
Intentions are kind of
there's nowhere to
selfish, and
live.
intentions are
Everyone's
kind of like a
homeless.
selfish thing. Intentions are about me and how like I want to be perceived or
Mm-hmm.
what I want, but impact is about you. How does it impact you? How does it impact our relationship? And so it's not right. And so
Right.
intentions are kind of selfish, not in a like this bad way all the time, but they really are about the person doing the act. They're less about it's like because I really want them to see that I'm a great person, or I was just trying to show you that I was trying. I was right. The impact is right. The impact
Yes,
is
yes, and yes.
how does it impact our relationship? How does it impact like this person? What like does it add value to this person? Is it necessary in this moment to have this
Right.
conversation with this person? Like, and so impact over intention always.
I love that. We got to put that on the
Mm-hmm.
shirt. Impact over intentions. You know what I'm saying?
IOI.
Got to put that on the shirt. Split the
Right.
profits. You know what I'm saying? With the profits. Yeah, no, listen, I agree. I think, and that's what I was going to respond with, the fact that when you have this intention, you're often not considering
Mm-hmm.
exactly what you said. How does this impact our day, our relationship, this conversation, all of those things, right? Because now you might have fucked up the whole
Mm-hmm.
day with your intentions. Now we beefing the
Or
whole
you set
day.
up like unrealistic expectations. I was trying to help and you're being so ungrateful. But it's like, who did you consider? Were you trying to impress
Right,
who was this really for? Because if you considered like the whole story, the whole person, you may have chose differently versus just being like, I just wanted to do this nice thing. But did you consider who I am as a
right.
person? And if I really deem those things as nice or I'm in a space to receive.
Yes. You hit that right on the head. Um, all right. So you
Mm-hmm.
deal with a lot of couples. A couple comes to you and say, "We've been having
Mm-hmm.
this argument for a week." Is that okay? A week? How long should an argument last in a
I
relationship?
think they're gonna last as long as people are. So, key to good communication is being able to listen actively,
Mhm.
not taking anything personal, um,
Mhm.
and recognizing when you need to like pause. Sometimes conversations, arguments need to be stopped and not trying to always be right and really be about the solution or really be about first understanding before you get to the solution. So, you know, a week long conversation, I'd ask them, like, what are you guys talking? Like, you guys are having the same argument. That means you guys don't have understanding. You're talking about the same thing. You guys aren't listening to understand. You're listening to either prove the other person wrong or right. You're trying to prove yourself right. You're trying to prove that person wrong. And so that's why you're having the same argument because you guys don't even have understanding about what the problem is. And usually what happens is we
Mm-hmm.
respond to how we feel about what someone says versus what they actually said. So we listen to the words and I'm like,
Yeah.
you said I was a brat. But that's what happened. But that's the problem with calling, name calling, right? Because it diverts a person. Now
Mm-hmm.
they feel attacked versus saying, when you do these things, this is how I receive it. This is how I experienced it. Versus you're a brat, and I'm supposed to
Mm-hmm.
understand that I'm supposed to like make this great understanding. So my understanding of brat may not be synonymous to what you say brat is. And I also like to say, like,
Got you.
we say the same words, but we speak different languages. We hear
Yes.
you're lazy and think it's the same thing, or we hear disrespect and we assume it has the same meaning, but it's not the same. It's really not the same language.
Right. Yeah. Lupe Fiasco has a song called Bitch Bad, and it
Mm,
talks exactly about that. It's about how different people
mm, mm,
perceive the word bitch. And so, like, for example, he says, so it's like a story of a boy his mom has a terrible attitude. He understands that a bad attitude
mm,
means bitch. And then there's a little girl who's watching music videos and watching the
mm,
bad bitch in the video. And so in the third verse, the two meet and there's this weird miscommunication
mm,
about bitch. So yeah. She's saying I'm a bad
mm.
bitch, meaning she's a 10. He
And
perceives
I'm
it
like,
as you
yeah.
have an attitude. I don't like that. Not only do I not like that, but my mom had an attitude and she didn't dress the way you dress.
Right.
I don't like it. And yeah, it's a really interesting song. But going back to something you said about taking a break, how do we know when to take a break in an argument, especially with your person? I mean, in the streets, it's a little easier to figure out, but with your person or someone you're dating, how do you know
It's
when to take a break?
so it goes back to boundaries. You said like the street, you like the street I know.
Okay.
It's the same thing. So if
Mm-hmm.
name calling is a dub for me, like I don't, once we get to name calling, I know I stop hearing, I stop perceiving, and I'm ready to fight, right? Like I'm ready to go in defensive mode. I'm ready to just like argue. I'm ready to call you names. I'm ready to like fuck you and whatever. When I start to hear that, that is my cue. Yeah, I'm not gonna be a great participant to this conversation. We're definitely not gonna get to nowhere because now I'm offended. And so your boundaries, right? Like boundaries
Mm-hmm.
again are about how I want to be how I want to be experienced, received, no matter who I encounter. And so in a relationship,
Okay.
I don't want you to call me a name. I don't want you to even call me a brat. Like if I make space
Okay.
for that, then we end up making room for harsher and harsher and harsher, perhaps name calling. Someone can say I'm extreme about it, but I just
Mm-hmm.
really believe like when you make small allowances and people get used to it, it only really makes space for people to continue to like build up to that when they get mad. It's like, I call you a brat all the time, right? Because when you finally are like, I don't like that, stop calling me
Right.
a brat. It's like, I always call you a brat. You ain't never said nothing before. And so it makes it really hard.
Right.
Not that you
Right.
shouldn't implement the boundary, it just makes it even more challenging versus when you address it from the very, very beginning. And so another thing that I talk
Right.
about is tapping into your senses and how you feel physiologically to our bodies are
Mm-hmm.
telling us like this isn't for us, we feel uncomfortable. And what I always tell my clients is that from young we're taught to ignore it. So I have a 2-year old, folds the arms, my 7-year old stomps, all of that. When we are told, when we tell them don't you do that, well, what are they supposed to do, right? The No, no, she actually communicates very well. And she knows to be like, Mommy, I don't like
Okay.
this. Stop the car. But I teach her that, right? Like I give space. And so when we are cut off from connecting to our, like internally and our emotional um, feelings and just physiologically what we feel in our body, then we don't understand what's happening to us sometimes because we've removed that connection. We're told, I'm upset. And this doesn't mean, we learn, right? When someone folds their arms, it means they're like not ready to receive, right? Body
Yeah,
language
body
is a
language.
thing. And so instead of as a parent
Yeah.
receiving it as like disrespect, it's about understanding that we communicate through body language. My kid balls up his fist, his body is telling him something about how he feels, and he doesn't have the language yet to communicate. So, right, so it's coming out through his body. So, my responsibility to him is not to be offended by it and not to feel threatened by it, but more like, what's going on? And so,
Right.
as adults, it's kind of coming back to our child self. It's like, what do I feel when I'm excited? Where does it live? When I'm when I'm like nervous, my fingers hurt. So I know, like, all right,
Mm.
do I need to call up my lifeline? Do I need to just kind of talk about the anxiety that I
Right.
have? Like, my stomach really hurts sometimes. I really sometimes got to go to the bathroom. Like, I'm really clear about what anxiety and nervousness looks like for me. I'm really clear, like, what also happens here. So if someone is like yelling at me, do I start going here and I start saying all these things? It's about recognizing, very much being tuned internally to what's happening to you when,
Mm-hmm.
if you start thinking about a rebuttal, it's about recognizing, like, yo, I really just did not hear what they said because all I heard was that they're yelling. I hear the yelling. I don't hear the words. Oh, I need a break. Either I need to pause this conversation or I need to end the conversation and say, hey, I'm tapping out. Like,
But I'm not letting you
so
hang
I'm
up,
telling
Danielle.
you, because I've done it. I've done it.
Okay.
You keep going to this thing and I keep answering. So
Mhm.
either we're going to have this conversation to move forward or we can have this conversation tomorrow. Or I'm hanging up
Okay.
because
Because in the middle of a good
they
argument,
don't.
some cats
And it
don't
don't
want to
be just
hang up.
women.
They'd be like, no, fuck that. I'm not done, Danielle. And
So,
another
like I
thing.
said, either you stop yelling or I'm hanging up. And the minute you do,
Right.
don't tell me I hung up on you. I have already let you know. You got a couple of choices. You got one or two choices.
Okay. All right. That's it then.
It's true. They will try. I mean,
Firm
it's not
boundaries.
easy, and I don't want to say it like, oh, it's so easy. It's hard, especially when you're used to communicating and that's the way. But you gotta. It's also about, like, I don't like how I feel when I'm in that. Like, that actually doesn't feel good to
Right.
me. I don't like, I'm riled up, like, and I feel like I have to be defense and I'm angry and I'm like, I don't like that feeling. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, hey,
Take a
take a
pause.
beat. This is too much.
How how long is too long of a pause? Like at what point, if all right, let's say we get into an argument right now and we like, all right, we need a pause. Can we pause for
No.
6 months though? Like
No, but I
I know I'm
no.
being a jerk, but how long is too long?
I personally think I give myself 24 hours. So I
Okay.
also say to myself, like, because I don't want to be reactive, and I like certain things you really sometimes have to check yourself with, and you have to make sure, like, am I coming from a place of rationale? And I'm not going to say logic, but more so like rationale of, I'm not fully immersed in this emotion that I feel now. Let me see how I feel in the morning. Do I feel it as heavy? Simultaneously, there's this like choose your peace kind of thing. And if it's not worth your peace, then don't say anything. And
Yep.
as a person who doesn't like conflict, I'm not afraid of it, but I don't like it. And sometimes I stew in the thinking too much that I don't address the thing, or I haven't addressed the thing, that you also have to be honest with yourself. Am I avoiding? Is it really about avoiding a difficult conversation, or am I really having to choose peace? Those are not the same thing, but I think we like this. Oh, choose your peace, choose your peace,
Oh, that's because
peace, peace,
that's the
peace.
thing.
But
Yeah,
what
that's the
happens
thing.
is
Peace. Even if I'm miserable, I'm
Right.
still
And
gonna
then what
say I'm
happens
choosing my
is
peace.
people are really avoiding and they're framing it and masking it as like, I'm choosing peace. Like, I don't have time. But you're really scared of conflict
Right.
and you're actually not choosing peace because internally you're still suffering. Or you're still perpetuating the same kind of experiences and dynamics and relationships because you're scared to have some kind of conflict. And you're probably
Yep.
taking on more ownership of something being wrong than what you should be taking on.
Okay. You know, I don't mention this person much here, but my daughter's mother used to have this thing she would say, and she would always say, "You only have 24 hours to be mad."
Mm,
That was her rule
mm,
that she liked
mm,
to practice herself. She used to say, like, so let's just say we had an argument. She would say the next day, like, "Okay, 24 hours have
mm.
passed," or whatever amount of time. She would say,
Yeah,
"Sometimes you need a day." And so you're upset, take a day. Or she would say, I'm upset, I'm gonna take the day. And then she'd come back a day or so later and say, right, I've taken the day, it's out my system. Now let's recap and let's talk about, what exactly happened.
yeah.
So something you
And I
said
think
made me think
people,
about
they'll
that.
have to choose what their time is. But again, are you having this like
Mm,
extended time because you're trying to avoid? Like, it depends on what side you're on. If you're the person who did the thing and now you're having to like seek redemption or like forgiveness or like you gotta make it up or whatever, are you not speaking about it because it doesn't feel good to hurt somebody you love or you care about, or it doesn't feel good to just know that you like made a mistake? Like, doesn't always feel good, right? Because especially when you have like expectations of
right,
who you are, who you tell yourself are, it's like, ugh, like,
right. She went to bed mad. I hate when she goes to
mm-hmm.
bed
Or
mad at
I'm mad at
me.
her
No.
and I hate to go,
Yeah,
but I also at
right.
the same time feel like she was wrong and I don't feel like being the one to address it.
Mm,
What do I do? Do I like let it rock? But
right.
you have to just have your own set of boundaries and what kind of relationships do you want to be in? And as long as you do your part, that's what matters. Do your part. So I say I move a relationship this way. When there's conflict, I am willing to give people space, but at the same time I will revisit it even if a person says like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'll come back." If someone says, "I'll come back and I just need a day." Maybe I'll still bring it up because it's been a day. Like, what are we doing? Because you're not gonna have me sitting wondering. Or
Right.
when you're ready to talk about it, I'm happy to talk about it. And so if it's 5 days later, I'll talk about it and we can figure it out from there.
Hmm.
So it just really is a
I'm not good with
yeah,
5 days
experts.
later.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. A day or two, I ain't mad at you. But after that, it's like, all right, man, what we doing? Like, we gonna keep doing this? We
yeah.
gonna talk about this or what? Like, how
Mm-hmm.
long? How long you need, nigga? It's been 2 days. Like, and me too. Like, there's times when I'm like, I got mad. I got my daughter. I got mad running around to do. I
Mm-hmm.
can't deal with Danielle right now. Danielle gonna have to wait till. And I'll be honest about that. Like, I'll be like, listen, Danielle,
It
I
ain't
got mad shit
happening.
to do this weekend.
Yeah,
I can't fuck with you this weekend.
yeah.
We could talk Monday. All right,
Mm-hmm.
Monday we could talk.
It ain't
But
happening.
this weekend, don't check for me.
And some
I can't do
people
it.
just have like, I mean, this is personal, but like my sister and I, like we didn't speak for 2 years at one point. You know what I'm saying? And more so, I'll say more so, she didn't speak to me. And when we spoke, we had to speak about the thing that happened 2 years ago.
Some people don't do that. That was
And
it's good that y'all did.
I believe that my cousin always used to tell me this: if you care about the relationship, then you owe it to yourself to have whatever conversation. And so I'm like,
I like
I
that.
mean, whenever she's ready. Like, I don't feel, it doesn't mean that I'm also saying things can be back to how they were, but I'm definitely open to understanding her perspective of like what happened. Because sometimes most times it really isn't about us. And sometimes people have to journey
Yeah.
and do their own figuring out without us being part of the journey. And we have to be okay with it, even if
Yeah.
it hurts.
Me and my guy best friend went through the same thing years ago. We were like, I don't know, 20 or something like that. We didn't speak for a year and a half at all. Zero communication. We had an argument. It was dumb, but we both felt like, nah, this person disrespected me. So that's it. And truthfully, our other mutual friend, one of our other close friends, he Jedi mind tricked us. He lied to both of us. It was like, well, we didn't know at the time. But he's like, hey, Jay, would you be willing to talk to Danielle? Because she said she want to talk. And I was like, that's what Danielle said?
Okay.
That's weird, but all right. If they're
That's so
extending an
funny.
olive branch, I'll try. And then went to Danielle and was like, hey, Danielle, would you be open to talking to Jay? Because Jay would like to speak to you. And it was so funny because it's like, all right, tell that
That's
nigga
so
call me
funny.
Saturday. And on the phone call, we both was like, all right, so you wanted to talk? Because like, what?
That's so funny.
No, you wanted to talk. It's like, I never said that. Me neither. It's
But
like,
now we're on the
this
phone,
nigga
so
lied to
let's just
both of us. All right. But
yeah.
now we here, right? Now we here. And it was just like you said. It was like, all right, well, we got to talk about it. And so we both took accountability of our wilding outness, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, yeah, I wilded out. I apologize. I wilded out too. I apologize. All right. Then now we could try to, you know, slowly get back to something. And it took a while, but man, we think it's thieves again. But yeah, I agree. We gotta resolve whatever the problem was first. Sweeping it under the rug and just be like, that was the past. It's a fresh start. It's all good. No, it's a fresh start until you have an argument one day, or until one nigga drank too much and be like, you know that shit you did in '88. I never fucking liked it. Like, nigga, '88. Are you for real right now?
We were like
I
in
thought we had a
diapers. What
fresh
are you
start.
talking
What
about?
happened? Like no. Fuck you and fuck that fresh start. You'd be like, we had a fresh start. What happened? All right, we're gonna wrap up soon. I just want to ask, dating apps or no dating apps?
Both.
Today, before you answer, today, okay, go ahead.
I think both.
That's where I was headed.
Done dating apps. And as a person, as a single mom, yeah, dating apps are necessary sometimes. Like, I don't know how else I'm gonna meet a guy. Like, it ain't gonna be in a grocery store. It could be in a grocery store. I don't go out like that.
Right.
Even if I do go out, like, yeah. So sometimes you dating apps work. I know people who got married off the dating app. And so,
Okay.
and I know people have friends who are like, yeah, nope, not doing it. I want that authentic.
Right.
I want
Yes.
that that very natural need. I want my guy to find cool. Okay. But you don't go out. But okay. I hope when you're sitting at the red light.
Exactly.
Maybe.
But that's what's crazy, right? Here's what's crazy. Because I agree, both of them, right? But let's just go with your example, right? This person doesn't go out and refuses to get on a dating app. If a guy at a red light, you both at the red light side by side, it looks over, he's like, hey, what's up? Put your window down. You're not putting your window down. You're going to probably flip him the bird and keep going, or you're just going to sit there and act like you don't see him waving at you. Like, come on, red light, hurry up, because this nigga's waving at me, and I'm trying to get to Danielle's house.
Okay, first of all, let me say that sticking up your middle finger to someone who's like, roll your window down, maybe you shouldn't date. Maybe you just shouldn't, or maybe you should.
Yeah, it's hyperbole.
Maybe
I like hyperbole.
Not aggressive, not that deep. But I think there are women who are just like nasty like that.
Or even going out. Sorry, before you go. Or even going out, right? Let's say this person doesn't go out. Forget the red light. They don't go out, but Danielle called them and said, girl, we going out tonight. That's it. Get dressed, throw some fly shit on, we going out. We need to party. All right, but now we partying. I didn't come here for guys. I came here to party with Danielle and the squad. So now when dudes are approaching her, hey, you know, whatever they say, they might say the flyest shit ever. It may not be some low whack disrespectful shit. It may be very polite, very gentlemanlike. But nah, nigga, can't you see we chilling? We dancing. We get out of here, man.
That
Get
to me
out.
is just immaturity. Like, it's nothing. If you're
Okay.
not, if especially if someone is approaching them and you're saying that it's not like disrespectful, there's nothing wrong with saying thank you for the compliment, but I'm not in the space. I'm not dating right now. It's to me, it's super simple. There's no need to be nasty. Like, I think that's like ghetto in these streets.
I agree.
Like, what the fuck? Like,
It is.
what?
It's
That was
definitely
not
ghetto in these
necessary.
streets. Yeah, I'm using
It
a lot of
exists, but it
hyperbole, but I feel
happens
like
though. But the
in
thing is,
agreement,
women are like that. Women are
it
like
does happen, unfortunately.
very. It's like,
Right, but you don't want to be on a dating app, and now people are approaching you, and you telling them get the
well,
fuck out
do
my
you want to
face.
date? And you're no, you don't. You're
Yeah,
lying. You're lying to yourself then.
not
No, then you're
well, but
lying to
that's what they
yourself.
out here saying though.
You're
Love
lying.
this conversation.
There's no. You're either lying or you're delusional. It may be one of the same.
Mhm. I'm about to say it
Because
might be
there's
both.
no way. And I think sometimes women don't know, and I think that's okay. Like, it's okay to say, like, I went through that phase and I was just kind of like, I want this, but I don't want this, but I want this. And sometimes it's a matter of like, are you ready for the thing? You may not be ready,
Hmm.
and that can be frustrating because you want it, but I'm just not ready for it. Or like,
Right.
yes, I think, it's a matter of, again, honesty. Are you like being really honest about what you want versus what you can have? Are you in the space to really date? And maybe that's just frustrating that like I
Right.
want to, but I feel like I don't have this together, I don't have that together. Maybe I don't feel super. And so like
Right.
instead of being rejected, I reject everybody because I think I'm not desirable because I don't have a good job or I have kids, and who wants to date a woman
Hmm.
with 2 kids and like all the stuff that
Right. Or I make under
yeah. Oh
$50,000.
no.
Did you see that clip?
Making $50,000, don't date. I'm just being for real. You're not ready to date.
Again, I'm with you when
You're
you're
not ready to
right.
date. You're not ready to date because courtship costs.
Okay.
Everything costs.
She said if you make $50,000 or less, you shouldn't date at all. You should get your money up. I'll send it to you another time. I'll find it and send it to you
Yeah.
so you can have a good laugh. But yeah, that's what she said. She said people under 50 who make under $50,000 annually. She said dating shouldn't even be on your mind.
There's people who make a lot of money, and if you don't have money management, if you are not, it doesn't matter what you
It
make.
doesn't matter.
You could be broke and make $115,000
Yeah,
a year because you don't manage your money right. So like, she's stupid.
absolutely. I agree. I'm glad a woman said it. Yeah, I only use those examples because I do know people and have seen situations where someone will say,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be on the dating apps. I want to meet a guy
Mm-hmm.
organically, quote unquote. But if a guy comes to you at Whole Foods and says, man, I really like pineapples too. And do you ever try
Mm-hmm.
making pineapple juice at home? You say, what? I'm sorry, I had headphones in. What the fuck you said? I don't, no, sir, don't talk to me. I
Mm-hmm.
don't work here. Leave me alone. You put your headphone back in. And so I think it's a weird situation. And I agree with you. You have to be open to it and be self-aware. But I think a lot of our conversation goes back to I don't know how self-aware people are. I mean, and then that's the other thing, right? Like I use the
Mm-hmm.
example of the gym all the time. I never
Mm-hmm.
want to meet people at the gym. I don't care how single I am, how desperate, how horny. I'm at the gym. I'm not there. I don't care how good Danielle looks when
Mm-hmm.
she comes over and says hi. I'm here to work out. I got sets to get in. I'm trying to jump on the
Why?
treadmill.
But
I don't want I,
why?
I
I
don't
hear
want to
you
talk
saying you don't want to, but why?
because at the gym I'm there for a specific thing. I'm trying to use a specific amount of time and get the hell on with my day. And if I stop and talk to Danielle for 20 minutes, I am no longer accomplishing those things. And to me, in the gym, the priority is working out. So
What if what if
I
it's
don't
just
care how tight I don't care how tight her athleisure is, I don't care how good
mm-hmm.
she looks or smells. I'm just trying to get these sets in. Now at a bar
Mm-hmm.
or some other place, I'm completely open. But I use the example of the gym because I see mostly more men trying to bag chicks, but I see it all the time. I've even been in the gym with somebody and they're spotting me, and then I'm here trying not to die, and they're like, "Hey, nigga, be right back, shorty in the purple." I'm like, "Hello, I'm dying here. I mean, where are you going?" Come back like 20 minutes later, and just like, "Man, yo, her name is Danielle. She's got 4 kids. I think DJ Wise is her cousin. I don't know. I'm not really sure about that
not,
part, but
not my actual
I'll be
cousin.
back, nigga, because she's. I think I could get her number. But you good, right? Okay, I'll be back, nigga. What are we doing? We at the gym. This is not the bar, the lounge, the club. Like, we at the gym.
I get it. I would say, like, what if you were leaving the gym? Is that count as the gym, or you're not going to take the number? You guys are leaving at the same time. Do you not get her number?
Oh yeah, we could
But
talk. We both leaving, sure.
what if
But
she approaches you and
I'm
is just like,
upset.
hey, I know you're working out, but whatever, here's my number.
Oh, I think that's fine. I don't think that's
As long as
terrible.
she's not just
But I don't think that's
okay.
the norm.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also not the guy women are coming to bag at the gym. Like I said, I more so see men trying to
Yeah,
bag women at the gym. But I just
yeah,
feel
no,
like,
I
are
get
we here to
that.
get these sets or
Playing
what?
a little
Like,
devil's advocate.
yeah. But right. And so I
Mm-hmm.
agree. Both. I think both. I believe, yeah, in person,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm at the bar and I see a nice looking lady, yeah, I might approach her. Sure, no problem. I might start a conversation or something. And also, yeah, the apps. I mean, I can't do 4 podcasts and have a full-time job and raise a daughter and also go out and try
Mm-hmm.
to meet my wife
Mm-hmm.
every night. I can't, there's
Yeah.
just not enough time in a day. So nah, I can't do it. So yeah, I agree both of them. But I was curious because today, there's this war between dating apps and not dating apps. Everyone's you got to do a
Mm-hmm.
dating app, but the dating app is like the 7th layer of hell and all this crazy hyperbole shit. And I'm like, I don't know what dating apps you on or what's your experience, but I mean, I've been
It's
cool
a
in and
it's a
out,
very
like
interesting,
on the dating app and
I
not on the
actually had
dating
a
app.
conversation with someone um about dating apps, and I think we were talking kind of about like the men's experience versus the woman's experience. And I think, and right,
Super different. Super different. I
very,
was telling my best
very,
friend that a couple weeks ago. She was like, "See a question about the dating apps?" I was
yeah,
like, "Oh, of course, girl. What's up?" She was like, "When somebody sends you a rose," I was like, "Niggas don't get roses. First of all, I mean, just niggas is not getting roses. We just get regular likes. What else you got?" She's like, "Really? Because niggas keep sending me roses, and I can't figure out is it good or bad." I'm like, "Oh, I don't. Some women like
mm,
it, some women don't. Like,
it's
I don't know." It's like, but why? What? I mean, how many of these messages am I supposed to go through in one day? I'm like, I don't know. Niggas don't get 700
they
messages a day
don't.
like women do.
Mm,
It's totally different.
very different. Yeah, and like even I think you guys go. That's what it was. We were talking about how often men get catfished, and I don't think women.
Mm.
I don't know. I haven't done any study, but I don't think we get as catfish as much as you guys do. He was
I think
we
y'all
get
get
what fish?
hatfished a lot more.
What's that?
Hatfished. That's when niggas got
Oh,
hats in every
oh,
picture. I
I
would do
got
it, but
you.
I don't
Say
have the
less.
hat next to me. And so let's say I have
All
5
with
pictures on my
yes,
profile. All 5 got a hat. And you'd be
and then
like,
he
damn,
take
this
off the
nigga
hat,
look good
and
as
you
shit.
look.
Man. And then you meet him. And you'd be like, hey, yo, that's what's going on under the hat? No, nigga, next, next. No, that's what was going on?
No,
Oh,
yes,
hell
we do
no.
get catfished.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
hatfished. Yeah, hatfished. But yeah, but that's also because niggas is dumb. Niggas is dumb and super thirsty. So as soon as they see Danielle, they be like, shit, Danielle looking good as hell. All right, yeah. What you say? Cash app you $400 for your rent? All right, girl. See you Tuesday. And niggas be like, you
Hmm.
sent me $400. It was not
Right,
Danielle. It was
right.
me on the other end of the phone. Yeah. That's why. But I also think today dating is like this really weird
Mm,
spectrum of you like extreme opposites, right? Where it's like you got people who in all layers of it, right? Like even meeting, right? Like some people want to meet the next day on a dating app. Some people never fucking want to meet. You'd be like, Danielle, we were messaging for 4 months. Can we meet? Like, you live down the block, you said. Like, why we, like, can we go food shopping together? Something,
Right.
nigga, damn,
Right.
cup of coffee, something, right? And then same thing, like even getting into a relationship. Some people feel like, I need 5 years to get in a relationship. Other people like, hey, it's been 2 weeks. We not a couple yet? What's up? Like, I mean, how long we got to date for you to know I'm the one? I'm the prize, nigga. You didn't know? It's been 2 weeks. What you waiting for? And next layer, right? Hey, we've been a couple for 2 years. Should we consider moving in together? And then other people who like, yo, we've been a couple of months. You ready to move in? Bring the kids. Come on, Danielle. I got it. You know I got mad space in here.
Right.
Come on, bring the kids. Move in, girl. Let's do it. You'd be like, what's going on right now? Nigga, there's no middle ground at all. Like, yeah. So that's that. That's what I see. What do you see?
I see that, and I also like for myself when I think about dating, what I've said lately is like I don't need 5 years because I've had experience. I'm not old, but I'm not young, right? And so I know who I am, I know what I want, and I know what I'm uncertain about. And so there's no rush. No one can rush me. I also know like nice isn't enough. So like I'm thankful that you're not a disrespectful asshole. Thank you. At the same time, nice doesn't like it, it just don't.
Nice
I'm
ain't gonna
nice.
do it.
Like I'm nice too. Like what the fuck does that mean? Like no.
Right.
It's way more than that, right? Like I'm clear about who I am and what I look for, but just also what I need as a person to be me, right? It's about that kind of boundary thing. Like, how do I get to exist? And the person who's going to be for me is going to embody some of these things. And so I just think some people don't know what they want. My girlfriend, I was just talking to her and I was like, when my kids get older and they go to college, I'm going to tell them, like, don't get in a relationship. I said dating, but I was like, what I really meant was like, no relationships. There's no reason why you need to be committed to anybody. Like, none of that matters because you guys don't even know who the fuck you are. And you just are going to experience unnecessary heartbreak that throws you off because heartbreak at 19 is heartbreak at 25. It's heartbreak at 33. It hurts. It don't feel good. It throws you off your A game. Like, it's not worth it more than I'd rather you meet people, get to know people, get to understand how men or women are, and learn more about yourself along the way. That when it really comes time to like thinking about relationships, you've had enough experience with like vetting people and getting to know them and understanding yourself. So I just think like people have their own reasons for getting into relationships, and sometimes those reasons are reasons why like you see all this crazy shit. Like 2 weeks? Are you nuts? Maybe it works. Maybe. But 2 weeks ain't 2 weeks.
I don't know. I'm single.
2 weeks
I don't
just
think I
ain't
get a
enough.
whole. I feel you. The question I struggle with today internally is when is enough, and I think it varies on a
It does.
person by person basis. People have asked me that. I often say I don't have any interest. Like on my dating apps, it says not rushing into a relationship. And so people are always like, all right, nigga, but how long? And I'm like, I can't really, I don't know. It could be 2 months. It could be 2 years. I don't know. I think it varies on a person by person / situation by situation basis.
I think I just personally believe so long distance, right? Oh, long distance isn't long distance 3 months is not the same as 3 months and we live in the same state. But
I agree with that.
I've experienced where it was like, well, we've been like, yeah, but we also ain't hang out like only one time. Like that ain't enough for me. 3 months. We need double the time because we're long distance. Like 3 months ain't. And I've really learned like I've like gotten to see how valuable waiting like 3 months, and not so much of like sex per se, but just more so just really before you say I can jump into this relationship, that after at least 60 days you get to see patterns. And again, at my age, oh, I'm clear about the patterns. Like, um, that's that's been consistent. You talk like that, okay, that's not for me.
See, but patterns are tricky because, like you said, some people are playing that character.
But for how long? Like I think like the
So, but that's what I'm saying. So I think it varies because in 60 days, maybe you're still on
less
your best
honestly,
behavior.
my experience, the gig be up. It starts to
Oh,
it's
okay.
no, and
Let
I
me tell
believe,
you,
but
some
that's
of
why I say
these.
you, now if we go beyond 60 days, if you really do give it 3 months before you, and you can say like I really like this person and just stay there, versus giving people titles and permanent seats in your life, then it becomes hard to move them because you've already assigned them to, that's about to be my man, that's about to be that's my shorty, that's my girl. And then them 30 days come, that last 90, last 30 days, I'm like, who the fuck is this? Because I truly believe people show you who they are from the beginning. And it makes me wonder, like,
Mhm.
what were some things that she showed you that you chose to ignore, or you may have downplayed it, but was also an indicator about who she would be in like a committed relationship? Because I think people really do. It's like sometimes we give grace, and we give grace in the hopes
Mhm.
that like, oh, people, people make mistakes and we make light of it. It's just kind of like that whole brat isn't the worst or the harshest name. I mean, whatever, but like me, oh yeah, my
Somebody
sister
called
called
you
me a
brat.
brat a lot. I'm not.
Somebody definitely called you brat. Because that's
Well,
like the 12th time you said brat. Brat might be the name of this episode.
and like, and and so you're like,
People gonna be
what?
mad confused. Just
What
what?
are we talking about?
Brat?
Right.
Why is this episode called Brat? I'm mad confused.
But right, like it was like, all right, whatever. And then 3 years later, I'm flipping out because I allowed this kind of like pass. Because I'm like, I've minimized it. Like, it's not that serious. It don't really mean nothing to me. Like, whatever. And now, after hearing it so much, and you realize like I'm actually offended by it, you blow up. You're like, I've been saying this for 3 years. Like, what are you talking about? And so, people show us. I
Right.
do believe people show us who they are in the beginning. We choose to ignore, or we downplay.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. I have asked myself that, and I think there definitely were some things I missed. I was like, no, I don't want this. Bring her
Mm.
back. You know what I'm saying? Pineapples. I'm
Well,
uncomfortable.
what's your this?
You know what I'm
It should be
saying?
called Bratty
Pineapples.
pineapples, because you brought up pineapples again.
Oh, pineapples. Oh yeah, it's two twice. Bratty pineapples. Oh, it might be the title. You know what I mean?
Pineapples and brats.
Pineapples and brats.
There you go.
Brats and
BP.
pineapples. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, BP.
Then
Oh,
it
no, you
becomes
can't put
political.
BP. It's not gonna look good. Yeah, people could be like, "What is BP?"
Big
No, it's no
penis.
good. No good. Anyway, especially with this podcast, we'd be like, "That's what we talking about? That's what you talked about with a woman on your pod for an hour and a half? Really?" Like,
No.
actually, no, not at all. None of that came up. All right,
Yeah,
listen, I know you got to go. We've been chatting forever.
anytime.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you coming up here, and thank you. And we'll
Okay,
definitely
thank you.
chat soon. Oh! Give people your Instagrams and all that, so they
Okay,
can
so
follow you after they see this.
I have three, but I'll give two. I have the Good Therapist, TheGoode Therapist, Therapist. And then I have a mom page where it's promoting motherhood, talks about, well, really to highlight just kind of like who we are as moms, and like what motherhood means to us in the different ways that we show up as ourselves. And so it's dedicated to moms. And so it's Mothering Like a Mother on Instagram. Those are my two pages. Yep.
Okay. Sweet. Oh, no
I don't
TikTok
know
or
my
any of that.
TikTok
Only
name.
Instagram.
I don't know. It's all, but if you go to Mothering Like a Mother, you'll see some TikTok
Okay.
posts, and then it'll link you to my TikTok. But I don't know that name.
All right. Well, that's not really your strong suit. It's all good. That's okay. I get it. Listen, like I am terrible at YouTube Shorts. I'm like, man, I talk too much to just trim all of these shits down to 60 seconds. Like, you messing me up. Then on YouTube Shorts, you got to put a title. I'm like, well, I don't know what to call this clip. I
Clip
just want to
one.
put the clip up. Like, nah, but then it's not gonna get no clicks because niggas gonna see and be like, what is clip 1? What is clip 2? Nah, they want you to put like a
X-Men
topic. So
97.
like BP. Right, exactly. They're like, X-Men 97 is the best show.
Right.
Okay, somebody will watch that. But if you
Right.
put clip 1, they're like, nah.
Yes,
Got to
I
pique
know.
interest with the title. I'm like, I'm not good with those.
Got
I'd like
you,
to
got
just
you.
post and ghost. You know what I'm saying? You're making me
Got
do
it.
a lot. Yeah.
Thank
But anyway,
you.
all right. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen. We hope that you found some value here. We hope you enjoyed it. And give Danielle a
Thank
follow, man. Stop
you.
playing.